tired of that burning in your chest or your throat, waking you up at night? I had this same issue for years until I finally learned what was causing it. So here's why your reflux flares up at night and what you can start doing today to stop it. So the reason that you have this, acid coming up either into your chest or your throat is because, simple answer, you have weak or low stomach acid, okay? Your stomach acid is responsible for breaking down your food all the way, okay? And when you have weak or low stomach acid, your food can't get fully digested and fully broken down. This then turns into undigested waste, okay? Now this undigested waste sits and it ferments, okay? As it sits, it ferments, and this creates a gas, and this gas weakens your lower esophageal sphincter muscle, okay? And this muscle is responsible for keeping stomach acid down in your stomach, okay? But when this food ferments and causes this gas, it creates this acid that weakens this muscle, so now it opens, and now the acid can travel up into your chest, into your heart, and into your throat, causing this, pressure in these flare-ups, okay? Now, the reason that you have weak or low stomach acid and can't digest your food properly is because you've been eating years and years and years of cooked food, okay? Now, this cooked food and this packaged and boxed frozen meals, microwavable meals, snacks, okay, and just regular cooked food, all of these don't have digestive enzymes in them, okay? So your digestion was designed to break down foods with enzymes in them, okay? Your digestion was designed in nature for nature, okay? And nature is the only foods that contain living digestive enzymes, okay? So nothing in the grocery store that is not in the produce section has enzymes, okay? So what is so important about these enzymes is that they help your stomach, they pair with your stomach acid to help it break down your food effectively so that none of it turns into undigested waste, okay? This is literally what your digestion was designed for, to digest foods with enzymes in them, okay? So if you're out here in the Western world, most of your diet has been cooked, okay? We don't eat a lot of these whole, fresh vegetables and fruits and leafy greens, okay? These are the only foods that contain digestive enzymes, okay? So because we've been eating years of these cooked and processed foods and not many fresh foods, this has weakened our stomach acid, okay? For years, our stomach acid has been doing its own work without the enzymes, having to overproduce, overcompensate to break down these foods that have no enzymes in them. And this requires a lot of stomach acid, okay? An unnatural amount of stomach acid to break down these foods, the chicken, the pasta, the toast, okay? These protein bars, granola bars, all of them are enzymeless and they're very dense and dehydrating. There's no water content in them either, okay? So because your stomach acid has been having to break down these foods for so long without any enzymes to help it really break down, this has caused a lot of undigested waste, and this has caused your stomach acid to become low and weak, okay? Because of all of that overcompensation of years of having to try and break down these foods with no enzymes. So now this causes our stomach acid to become weak, and now we have this undigested waste, and we eat the same foods, these cooked foods every day, and it's creating more undigested waste since we have this weak stomach acid, it can't break it down, and this undigested waste ferments over time and creates this acid, okay? And the reason you experience at night is because gravity is not on your behalf anymore. It's not working on your behalf anymore as if you were standing or sitting. And because this valve, this lower esophageal sphincter muscle is weak, when you lay down, you're kind of assisting that flow of process of letting that acid come into your chest or your throat. So how you can start fixing this today and rebuilding your stomach acid, because that is the root cause of this. And this is how you fix it, is you need to rebuild and rebalance your stomach acid and re-strengthen it so that it can start digesting your food properly and not creating any more of this undigested waste that is fermenting and causing all of these symptoms. And if you do want more guidance before I dive in on this, on how to rebuild and rebalance your stomach acid effectively, you guys can check out my free gut healing solution book using the link in the description. So, some ways to rebalance and re-strengthen your stomach acid is to add in more of these enzyme-rich foods into your diet, okay? Fresh fruits, whole vegetables, unprocessed, and leafy greens, okay? And we want to eat these fresh because as soon as we cook them, after the sun has already cooked them, right? When the sun ripens it, it's cooking it perfectly for our digestion. But when we cook it again in the toaster oven or a fryer or boil it or saute it, we're destroying these enzymes in them, okay? And now it's just empty calories. The minerals are dead in it, okay? The water content is killed out of it. It's now dehydrating. It's just empty calories. It's just for taste. And this is why we can, eat so much cooked food, and it's very addicting. We eat a whole pizza and 2-3 hours later, we're craving more. So we want to get in more enzyme-rich foods, okay? Especially for breakfast, okay? You want to swap out whatever you're eating for breakfast for more hydrating, juicy, water-rich, enzyme-rich foods, okay? We need that hydration in our food to break down this gunk, and these enzymes in our food to break down this undigested waste and start lubricating our colon and getting this stuff eliminating through our bowels, okay? Because that's how we're supposed to be eliminating our food, is by pooping it out, okay? But when it's undigested, it kind of clogs us up, keeps us backed up and bloated, and it ferments, okay? So add more enzyme-rich foods into your diet. This is going to strengthen and rebalance your stomach acid by adding in those, enzyme-rich, hydrating foods first thing of the day, or just first meal of the day. You want to be hydrating and enzyme-rich, okay? And that's gonna get things flowing. And the second thing you can do is to add these whenever you do have cooked food, is to pair them with, non-sweet, hydrating, enzyme-rich fruits, okay? So cucumbers, celery, bell pepper slices, leafy greens. You wanna pair these with anytime you have cooked food. Make sure you pair this, because this is going to assist your body in breaking it down with the enzymes and the hydration that the cooked food doesn't have, okay? And you want to replace drinking water with or right after your meals with eating these hydrating, non-sweet fruits with your cooked food. Because when we drink water with our meal or right after our meal, we're actually diluting our stomach acid even more, and we need that strong stomach acid to let it break down our foods. And by providing it with those cucumber slices on the side of our lentil soup or our veggie burger or whatever it is, we're providing our body with that hydration and these enzymes that help break it down. And you really just want to have most of your diet be these enzyme-rich, hydrating foods, okay? We are water-based beings. We're 60 to 70% water. So our diet should be a reflection of who we are, okay? So we need to come back home into nature. I know it seems like we're not from nature, okay? It's weird seeing people barefoot and just out in nature, barefoot and connecting, okay? But before all of these buildings and these hospitals we were born in, our ancestors were popping babies out barefoot on the grass. We were growing our food, we were foraging, okay? And taking herbs and vegetables and growing fruit trees, okay? This is how we were getting our nutrients, okay? And no one had acid reflux or heartburn back then just eating nature, okay? No one that just eats primarily fruits and vegetables and greens and maybe some nuts and seeds, these things that can be eaten from nature without having to process them to be edible, is sick, okay? No one eating primarily those foods are sick or dealing with any of these symptoms, okay? So it's really just about food addiction at the end of the day, is trying to get off of these densities and these complexities that are very stimulating and numbing to us, okay? So we gotta come back home and come off of these packaged foods and these animal products and the chips and the frozen meals and the microwave meals. All of these are just super dry, dehydrating, dense, and require an excess amount of stomach acid to break down. And we have weak stomach acid if we're dealing with these symptoms. So we want to give our digestion and stomach acid a break by getting rid of these foods, gradually getting off of them, and coming back to whole plants as our primary source of calories, okay? So if you're eating processed foods or vegan food, vegan junk food, and microwave frozen meals and or animal products, burgers, pizza, lots of cheese and dairy and meat and eggs, you want to slowly eliminate these out of your diet to where it's comfortable for you and until you're completely off of it, because these have no enzymes in it. They're very dense. They're very hard for your stomach to digest. And you can add them in later if you want, but while we're healing our gut, we need to give our gut room and space. And the way we do that is we come down the complexity ladder and we come down the density ladder. And what I mean by complexity is just like foods and packaged foods with so many ingredients in it and these weird gums and oils and preservatives and additives in it. And because the more simple our meals are, the easier it is for our gut to digest it. And density, I mean just dry, dehydrating, like the chicken, the bread, the pasta, the cheese, okay? None of these are light. They're very dense and they require lots of stomach acid to break down. So we're coming off the complexity ladder and the density ladder, and we're eating more whole plants, okay? Use beans and lentils and quinoa and rice as transition tools to come even further down, into the lighter foods and more hydrating foods, okay? Because these beans and rice and lentils, they're not enzyme rich or hydrating either, but they're simple, one ingredients, and they're lighter than these animal products and these processed foods. So your body has more space and more room to do this internal cleansing and, provide our body with that relief, okay? So as you're on these beans and lentils and rice and quinoa, you want to make sure you're pairing them with those non-sweet hydrating fruits and vegetables like cucumbers and bell peppers and stuff like this to provide your body with those enzymes and the hydration that these plant foods don't have. And as you're eating like this for a couple of weeks, you want to even come further down the density and complexity scale to just steamed vegetables, steamed sweet potatoes, oil-free, and raw vegetables, okay? And more greens and more salads and more fruits, okay? And you can even come down off of this steamed vegetables and steamed sweet potatoes into raw after you've done that for a couple of weeks, and just go raw for 2 to 3 weeks. And this is how you heal your digestion, when you're on full hydrating foods and enzyme rich foods, okay? Everything that you can eat raw from nature is enzyme rich and hydrating, okay? We gotta be getting our hydration from our foods and our enzymes from our foods, okay? Our ancestors were not walking around with a gallon of water and had this full access to water, okay? They had to eat for their hydration, okay? So we gotta mimic our ancestors here. We're coming back home to nature, okay? Because we were all good, and then at some point in this human generational journey, we've got steered off the path after all these grocery stores came up and we started relying on the bread, okay? The pasta, none of this is in nature, okay? It's all has to be processed to even be edible, okay? So we wanna be eating foods that were meant for us, grown from the earth, can be eaten right there. We wanna stay in the produce section, and this is how we heal. We're coming off the complexity and the densities and the dehydration to more hydrating, light, enzyme-rich foods. This is how you strengthen your stomach acid and eliminate this undigested waste and break down and lubricate this undigested waste to be eliminated through your colon by pooping it out. So this undigested waste is no longer there, fermenting. And as you add these enzyme-rich foods into your diet, you're actually strengthening this valve back up, because now it's not getting hit with this acid all the time, and it can begin to come back to homeostasis and strengthen itself, and you won't have this problem anymore. Another thing you can do is breathe with your nose. You want to start breathing through your nose instead of your mouth, and through your stomach instead of your chest, sorry. So breathe through your nose, not your mouth, and breathe through your stomach, expanding your stomach out on those nasal inhales, okay? Not your chest out. You want to be breathing through your stomach, okay? Now what this does is when you breathe, as you're expanding, when you take an inhale and expand your belly out, you're engaging with your diaphragm muscle, okay? Now this muscle is your primary respiratory muscle, okay? So when you use it, you strengthen this muscle. Now this muscle is right next to your lower esophageal sphincter muscle, which is the muscle responsible for keeping stomach acid down in your stomach. So by engaging with this diaphragm muscle, you're strengthening this valve to do what it's supposed to do and keep that stomach acid down. So just become more conscious of how you're breathing. Even put some reminders on your phone, 5 reminders a day to, come back to your breath and nasal breathe. A lot of us are just on autopilot with our breath, breathing very shallow through our mouth and up here in our chest. Okay, and we gotta be breathing more. And this isn't your fault. None of us are taught how to breathe properly, which is a shame, but we wanna be breathing through our nose, not our chest, not our mouth, expanding that belly on those inhales and bringing that belly back in, contracting it in, fully exhaling, okay? And this also activates your digestion. This puts you in a rest and digest state. So all of your digestive organs are in balance and activated and ready to absorb your nutrients and digest it all, okay? When we're eating in the state of, having our breathing through our mouth and breathing up here in our chest and breathing very shallow and not deep, we're actually signaling to our nervous system that we're in a stress state. And when we're in a stress state, blood from our digestion moves up to our arms and our legs so that we can run, okay? Because our nervous system doesn't know the difference of the stress that we're dealing with, okay? Our nervous system is very ancient, so it doesn't know the difference of us just being stressed by a deadline or drama or relationship or work or emails versus us 5,000 years ago getting chased by a lion out of the bushes, okay? It just knows that stress is stress, and when we're stressed, when we're signaling to our nervous system that we're stressed through our breath, which we're all doing, most of us are doing, our digestion essentially gets put on pause, and our nervous system just thinks we have to run, okay? This is why this society is very anxiety high and depressed, okay? We gotta be consciously breathing through our nose and signaling to our nervous system that we're ready to absorb our nutrients and ready to break down our food efficiently, coming back to the present, not scrolling on our phones, not watching TV, not around people we can't fully relax around, not in chaotic environments, okay? We want to be very present, coming back to our 5 senses, breathing through our nose deeply, engaging our belly, and doing this for 1 to 2 minutes before we eat to signal to our nervous system that we are in a rest and digest state and ready to absorb properly. And obviously, just don't eat before bed. You want to give your body like 3 to 4 hours at least before going to bed. Or you want to stop eating 3 to 4 hours before going to sleep. This gives your body a bigger window to fully digest your food all the way before you go to sleep. If we're eating right before we're going to sleep. Our body has to focus on digesting this all night, and it's a lot of stress on your system, okay? Your system doesn't want to be digesting food you just ate while you're sleeping. It wants to do internal cleansing and cellular repair while we're asleep, okay? And this also gets rid of that undigested waste from other meals a couple days ago, even last week, okay? So it's clearing all this at night, and we let it do that by giving it a bigger window of not eating, okay? And even when you wake up, when we're sleeping, our body forces us to sleep and fast, okay? By fasting, I mean giving our digestion a break. This is why we sleep, or else we would just keep eating, okay? So even by waking up and just waiting an hour or so before you eat, you're assisting your body in extending that fast so it can do more cleansing and more breaking down of undigested waste. And just having your meal, your biggest meal in the middle of the day when the sun is at its highest, that's when your digestion is the strongest, okay? And just having a very light meal, hydrating meal with some greens or some cucumber slices or celery, bell peppers, these living, hydrating foods to help break down that lunch, that big lunch. So you just want to have a light dinner and make sure you're eating 3 to 4 hours at least before you lay down, and try even going for a light walk after that dinner, 30-minute walk, going to assist your digestion in breaking everything down. And I think that's all. So I hope this video brought you massive value. I'll go through a quick recap. So number one is we got to strengthen our stomach acid, okay? We got to replace the breakfast with whatever breakfast we're eating with juicy, hydrating, enzyme-rich foods in the morning to prepare our digestion and get things breaking down and lubricating. And we just want to add more hydrating, enzyme-rich foods into our diet in general. Every time we have cooked foods, we want to add those non-sweet hydrating foods to pair it with so that we can assist our body in having that hydration and the enzymes to break down the cooked food that doesn't have the hydration and the enzymes. And when you do have cooked food, opt for oil-free. Check all the ingredients. You want to have no oils in it, more whole plants, okay, more steamed vegetables and raw vegetables, no oil. They're very dense and fatty and concentrated, and they're just super dense and hard for your stomach acid to break these things down. And to not drink with your meals, because this dilutes your stomach acid. So instead, eat those hydrating, enzyme-rich, non-sweet fruits instead with your cooked meals. And the reason I say non-sweet fruits is because sweet fruit should only be digested on an empty stomach. So preferably in the morning, okay? You don't want to be mixing sweet fruit with anything, not nuts, fats, cooked food, anything, okay? And those non-sweet fruits, cucumber, celery, bell peppers, leafy greens, lettuce, those can be paired and should be paired with everything. Avocados, raw nuts. And when you do have nuts, make sure they're raw, okay? You don't want any roasted nuts because these have those inflammatory oils in them that are hard for your stomach to break down. And just wait 3 to 4 hours, give your body 3 to 4 hours before going to sleep after you eat. And if you can, just wait an hour or two after you wake up to break your fast. Break it with some warm water and then some juicy fruit, hydrating fruit. And if your body doesn't respond well to sweet fruits right now, just add in more raw, non-sweet fruits, the cucumbers and celery and stuff like this, and come back to more whole plant foods as you get off all the animal products and the processed foods, so that your body is in a state of, being able to receive these cleansing and hydrating foods, okay? Because if you can't deal with sweet fruits right now, it's because your body is pretty clogged up from all the processed density. And these fruits are very cleansing and purifying and detoxifying. Okay, so you probably experience these headaches and detox symptoms. So if your body doesn't respond well to sweet fruits, you just want to stick to the raw, non-sweet fruits. And as you become more consistent with eating these whole plant foods and coming down the complexity and density ladder to more simple and lighter and hydrating foods, then you begin to be able to receive the healing properties from fruit and feel energy from them, and actually be able to absorb the nutrients from them as you begin to eliminate waste out of your body. So, like I said, I hope this provided massive value to you, and I will be making more videos like this. And again, make sure you guys check out the Gut Healing Solution book, 100% free. Link is in the description. Give you some good food swaps on what to replace for strengthening your stomach acid. And that is it for now. I will see you guys in the next one. Happy healing, family. This has been Practitioner Key. Cheers.